Well, what do if that's what you want? You want to learn how to protect yourself with the deadly weapons that are your own hands. Well, you do what everyone does, and you go to the back of a comic book. And if you're like me, you go to the back of a comic book from like the 60s. This might even be the 50s. This is a character called Black Cat, and she is one of the Captain America types where she really just relies on her, you can see here it says, Jiu-Jitsu Judo skills. Now, back then, they didn't differentiate between Jiu-Jitsu and Judo. Judo came from Jiu-Jitsu. I do enjoy this because this is supposed to be the explanation, which would imply that the author knew what they were talking about. So, Ju, soft or gentle, Jitsu, art, Judo, knowledge of the gentle art. Incorrect. Ju is gentle and Do is way. So Budo is the way of the warrior, and then Judo is the gentle way. And the idea is that you use someone's force against themselves. So if I want to throw someone forward, I push them, and when they push back, then I throw them. And there's actually, okay, the fundamental techniques they are demonstrating in this comic are accurate in theory, poor in execution. So it is the gentle only in the sense that it is the attacker's strength that is used against himself and not the strength of the one using the judo skill. So this implies that this woman who, let's call her 120 pounds, could take on this fully grown, very masculinely bearded man who's probably like close to 200. In practicing these tricks, use caution as you may injure your partner. So let's be very clear. Do not practice these tricks you've learned from a comic book. If you want to learn jiu-jitsu or judo or the art of jiu-jitsu judo, go to a school where they will teach you how to do things properly. When someone has joined my judo club, the first thing you learn to do is fall down. We do not teach you judo tricks. I actually don't like them being called tricks either. But let's get right into it. Let's get into the excitement of Black Cat judo tricks. So we start with the assailant. If an assailant comes at you with a right hook, parry the attack with a blow from the edge of the hand. Sorry, I'd read that too fast. Parry the attack with a blow from the edge of the hand against the wrist of the aggressor, meanwhile stepping forward with your right foot. This is technically correct. I mean, I will be honest. She's going to go for the over-the-shoulder throw, often called the shoulder throw, or seo nege. It is one of the first throws you learn if you start practicing judo, because it encompasses all the basics that would actually happen in judo throws from that point on. Parrying a right hook is not as easy as she makes it seems. And first of all, she's taken up this sort of hunched position. That's actually bad form. You actually want to be more upright in this case. But she's lunged forward, let's say. Somehow she clearly saw this right hook coming before he even got like wound up. You will notice the other hand, she has done nothing to protect herself from, once the right hook has been parried, a left uppercut. If you're going to be fighting in the streets, you're not going to be using judo rules. You're going to be using street rules, which means always protect yourself at all times. So she's already not in the best position. She should be, in my opinion, closer. But the problem is, for the artist, if you put them closer, you're not really going to be able to see what's going on. B. Glad that this is just in two parts. Grab his forearm and wrist with both hands. This is already incorrect. And pivot on your right foot, bringing his arm over your right shoulder, elbow downward. Okay, so the issue is she's parried this. So she should just grab onto his wrist here. And then the throw should be swinging in using his momentum. If she takes the time to get into position and grab with the other arm, she's in a good position to actually break his elbow. But, yeah, I don't know. We won't get that into it. But what she's done is put herself in the right position. She has not bent her knees. To execute this throw correctly, you must have your knees bent. Otherwise, you can't create any upward lift, which is what the throw requires. What she's doing is bending far forward, which means if he's standing upright, which he is, and he's stronger than her, which he is, his hips could just block her out. She might not be able to throw. So we look at C. Now bend sharply from the waist. That is incorrect. You actually should be bending your knees and lifting your opponent and then going forward to complete the throw. So that's like more of a follow through. Twisting his arm downward towards the left foot, and the bully flies over your hip and shoulder to land on his head. Landing on his head is what's going to happen in this position. There is a very small chance that his weight will pull you over and you will land on your head as well. But the problem is, if he lands on his head, which is never the actual intent in judo. Judo throws are all designed to make someone fall onto their back. If he lands on his head and you're on concrete, which again, this is supposed to be in the street, very likely you just broke that guy's neck. So this is Black Cat's judo tricks for killing people. And why is he not wearing any socks? And why does he have a brown shoe and a black shoe in this one? I guess we'll just call that a shadow because it is shaded in there. But he is clearly not wearing any socks. Can he not afford socks? They didn't color that in. Maybe he's wearing socks and she threw him so hard his socks came off. It's very hard to tell. So again, fundamental theory is correct. Actual execution of this, if you practice this on your friends, like they were suggesting you be careful, you don't want to throw your friends head first into anything, certainly not a hard floor or concrete or anything like that. This is a good one. Should an attacker try to grab your collar or choke you, here's what you do. And again, she's really close to getting it right. Seize his shoulders with both hands. That's not terrible. Then rock back and forth to put him off balance and place your right foot against his stomach. Foot placement is a little incorrect, but not bad. The rocking back and forth is good. It's really hard to show that in sort of comic form. He does have a brown shoe and a green shoe on, which I'm not happy about. B is good. Let yourself fall backward onto your shoulders. That is incorrect. This is a throw called tomoe nege, and the idea is to roll yourself back so that he rolls over you. If I fall flat onto my back, it means he's going to fall flat onto me. So the person who is doing this or explaining this has seen it done and not understood the physics or the mechanics behind it. So let yourself fall backward onto your shoulders while keeping your right foot in his abdomen and your shoulders and your grip on his shoulders. She's basically just saying fall down and hang on. That's not really what you should be doing. She does look very happy about it though. She should have, see, this foot is now in between his legs. That foot should have stepped forward a little bit so she was a little closer. All these drawings have the attacker, the black cat and the assailant a little bit too far away from each other. I understand the reality so you can see what's going on, but you're not going to be executing it properly from that distance. So don't fall backwards. You actually want to roll sort of through your hips onto your back. So it does look like that to an amateur, but that is not what's actually happening. Stretch your leg out and pull him forward over your head. He will release his grip instinctively in order to protect his face, on which he is sure to fall. So again, what she's actually saying is throw him forward and pull him down onto his head, attempting to break his neck. The actual throw, you would like bring your elbows in, pull him in, and then push as hard as you can, and it will flip him over onto his back so he will land safely. He will instinctively let go because he's being thrown. But again, this is not a judo trick. This is an attempted murder, is what we're actually witnessing here. Black Cat Lesson 3 shows you how to do judo tricks. Jiu-jitsu judo. Oh, they re-explain it. Okay, so this is the beginning. Holy shit, librarian lady is angry. You did not bring your books back on time. Blow from above with a chair. Parry blow with your right forearm behind her elbows. Not terrible advice. My actual advice is if someone's attacking you with a chair, remain outside the distance of the chair so that they cannot hit you, or get super, super inside. So what's going to happen now is if this has momentum, which these lines are actually implying, if you hit the elbow, it'll actually stop her arms, but the chair is still going to swing down and hit you in the back. So it's not going to hit with the right amount of force, like the same amount of force as if she's hitting you physically, but it's still going to hit you and probably still going to hurt. Grab right ankle from outside with left arm and pull leg up. So you can see she has gone from this position, somehow gone down fully to the ground, grabbed her leg and lifted it up. Again, she needs to bend her knees. Pretty much all of these, the complaint, and it's the complaint with actually all beginners, is they don't bend their knees enough. So if she's done this parry, She needs to bend her knees to get deeper in so that her arm will be able to reach her opponent's ankle. If she wants to do this throw, which is called an ankle pick, it's actually now illegal in modern judo because too many people were falling, landing on their shoulders and neck and hurting their back. It was a bit violent. Let's be really honest. When I was doing competition, this was probably my favorite move. I would do with this leg here, foot sweep the foot up into my own hand and then do what she's basically doing here while sweeping the other leg. The level of black cat is, I'm sorry to have to say, significantly beneath the level of technique I would use. All right, so basically she's saying keep that blocked so the chair is now sliding down beside you, reach all the way down, grab her leg and lift it up. She's only standing on this foot, which would probably mean, oh no, this one's backwards and that's the one she's lifting up. She would have to take a step forward with this leg in order for you to be able to reach it. So she should actually grab this ankle that's closer and then maybe push on her shoulder or hip and dump her sideways. That actually might be the more effective move from that position. But let's say she's completed this step forward. She's somehow managed to grab her ankle before it actually like landed on the ground and took sort of a stance and was able to lift it up. She's now off balance, push her backwards. With your right foot, step on her left foot. Okay, that's fine. At the same time, bring her right foot under your left armpit using your left arm as a lever, pressing down on her knee with your free hand. So she basically step on her leg to immobilize her. You can see again, she's breaking her neck and dying in this image. And then also break her knee. You realistically, if you want to damage the knee, you'd have to do more of a twist action. But she's in a good position, to be honest, if this was all successful, but there's a lot of ifs in this one being successful. Judo trick lesson 4. If you are attacked from behind and pulled to the floor being strangled, our attacker has shaved, it seems like, and come back, the guy from the first one. I am very interested in how he got into this position. You also notice that Black Cat has red hair here and blonde hair while she's being choked. So maybe choking someone changes your hair color. So he's somehow pulled her back. So if you grab someone from behind, your fingers are going to be around the front of her neck and your thumbs are going to be at the back. If you pull her down, they would be on the top. It's very hard to choke from that position. So he would have had to release, turn his hands around, and is now choking thumbs up. So, or he just like pulled her down and then grabbed her throat. So let's give him that one. He somehow snuck up on the Black Cat, which is, of course, we know almost impossible. Pulled her to the ground and grabbed her from behind. He has a blackjack in his back pocket. He should have just knocked her with that. It would have put her out. So she's like, get a firm grip on his wrists. Sure. That's not what's choking you, but she's trying to look for leverage. I know what's coming in the next image. Swing your legs over his head and lock them over his ears. You would be very lucky to be able to do that successfully in one movement. He's pushing down. As you lift your legs up, he's going to be able to see them coming. So if he can see them coming, he's probably going to move his head either to the side or back. And then you're probably just going to kick him in the forehead or shoulder. And if I'll be really honest, from that position, it's not going to hurt very much. And he's still choking you. So she's not dealing with what I would consider the actual issue. If the issue that you're dealing with is that you're being choked, what you really need to do is stop the choke before it actually renders you unconscious or unable to actually continue fighting and defending yourself. So from this position, I would probably try to roll my hips up, get my one hand on his thumb and the other one sort of deep in his wrist and get one hand off. It's going to be much harder for you to choke. And then I'm on my side. I can kind of turn around, swivel around and actually start fighting back. That's very much more like jiu-jitsu than judo, but this kind of position would never happen, I don't think, in either sport. It's more likely to happen in jiu-jitsu because they have a lot more rolling on the ground and it's a lot more active that way. Not a criticism to one or the other. I'm just saying which is more likely. So then she's magically got a hold. Now your legs, your knees. I know there's a machine in the gym for squeezing your knees together. I don't know how many pounds per square inch you can actually do on that and be successful. So it's a tough one because I don't think I, as a fully grown male who has exercised most of his life, would be strong enough to pull him over with my shoulders being the only point of contact on the ground. with my hips up in the air and no leverage for the rest of my body, I don't think there's enough for me to pull him the way she wants to. Force him over to the left side. It's good she's pushing him to the side, not like trying to roll him straight backwards. So that's more likely to work. Force him over to the left or right side, holding on to the headlock, then press down on his arm using your leg as a lever. So she's actually trying to do an arm lock here. He still has one hand free, which makes it particularly dangerous. And you can see space here. That's not going to work. It's too much space. It's too loose. He's just going to take this hand, grab her ankle or up her calf, and then push off. And now he's basically free, and the arm lock's not doing anything. To lock this in, she would have to take this leg that's now underneath his body, which is, again, making it harder for her to have any sort of motion. Throw that up on top, and then do a proper jujikatami, which is like when you squeeze your knees around sort of the bicep and then pull backwards. You'll see it in a lot of MMA fights. So this, and then this being up on one arm means you've lost all sort of physical leverage. You're not able to use your whole body. So a lot of criticisms there. Judo trick number 5. If a gunman should surprise you from the rear and you don't feel the gun muzzle against you, obey his order to stick him up. So she's weirdly in a crouch position and he's not, so she's taller than him. I'm very weirdly obsessed about how tall she is, but that actually would determine what kind of moves you're being most successful at. I'm 6 foot. There's a lot of moves that if I try, physically I'm too slow to do them and people would see them coming. So this is it. So she's just like, okay, he says, stick up your hands. You should stick up your hands. He's wearing the classic mask. He hasn't shaved. He's got a blackjack in his pocket again. I think our assailants should make better use of their blackjacks. Like just walk up, don't point the gun at her, knock her out, tie her up, and then start questioning her if that's what you want, if you actually want her to do something. She's not wearing anything other than a bathing suit, really. So she's not carrying any valuables. So there's no real reason to keep her conscious at this point until you've restrained her. Not to give too much advice to the criminal in this, but I would like it if my hero and my antagonist were both intelligent in their abilities. As you raise your hands, quickly pivot on your left foot and with the edge of your left hand, knock his arm to the side and grab his wrist. So this theoretically is correct. You would need to know where the gun is and you would need to be faster than he is at pulling the trigger. So I think as soon as you start to turn, he's going to pull the trigger and you die, if I'm being really honest. Now, there is a chance you get this. She is in the correct position for the first throw, the shoulder throw. She's got her arm in the right place. She could take this arm that's up in the air and swing it under his armpit, and she's got her knees bent for the first time. She could actually throw this guy over her shoulder very nicely. Of course, that being the right move, it's not the one she makes. I think he doesn't have socks on again. Let me get that behind the screen. It's a bit weird. Pivot again on your left foot and bring your right arm over his, grasping his gun, hand in yours. Twist it inward as you bear down on his arm. With his hand in this painful and unnatural position, his fingers must open and drop the weapon. So she's doing a wrist lock to make him drop the gun. Sure, I would have continued to push the gun out of the way. I would have deviated between 2 and 3. Kept the gun wrist away and then done an osoto gari to push him onto his back and get him to land. That'll probably make him drop the gun, but it also means it won't be aimed at me at any point if I do it correctly. There are, again, every time I say if, the consequence of being wrong or too slow or not doing the move perfectly is probably death in this situation. So you got to be aware of that. So a wrist lock would make him drop the weapon. Again, I think she would have been dead between 1.5, like 1 to 2. I think she would have died there. Once she's got this, yeah, I wouldn't go for the wrist lock. She's in a position to throw him. She should just be throwing him. That might be enough to discombobulate him and get him out of the way.